Welcome to the Runs World podcast with me, Rick Pearson.
And me, Ben Hobson.
Today we're speaking with Michiel Panhuysen about what it's like to take part in the Barkley Marathons.
Yeah. What the inevitable, we've absolutely got straight in on the Barkleys, despite, trying to be cool about it. It's fascinating. So,
we were giddy about it last week, weren't we? I feel like we were doing a lot of watching on Twitter and sort of theorising.
Yeah, I genuinely think that's part of it.
Yes,
lack of information makes it more enticing in this day and age where everything's immediately available. So perhaps that's credit to their slick marketing team at the Barkley, which is exactly what they're famous for. But yeah, it's definitely there's that element to it. Not a dot to watch or anything. There's just some sounding out on the internet here and there about what might be happening.
Yeah, but, a lot of fake news at the Barkley, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, and a lot of interesting stuff. Quite sort of, I don't know, controversial, interesting. It's a race that sort of is delivering all sorts of stuff. But yeah, to speak to Michiel.
I think it's Michiel, but he was good enough to allow me to call him Michael.
Let's call him Michiel.
He's a Dutch journalist and ultra, and he's run the Barkley 5 times, so that's a lot.
It's an interesting standpoint to meet someone who's done it 5 times. Has also written a book about it, and this was the first thing that they ever did.
Yeah,
which is wild.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? Right, for anyone who doesn't know much about Barkley, I'm no expert, but just very quickly, it's probably the hardest ultramarathon in the world, I'd say. Most years, no one finishes.
Let's say that. I'm sort of wary about these sorts of things.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But anyway, it's a famously difficult race.
Yeah, in Tennessee, in Frozen Head State Park, I think is where it is. Loads of climbing, loads of rumours about what makes it so difficult. You've got to do it in 60 hours, and it's roughly 100 miles. And this year was amazing, wasn't it? Because I think for the second time in its history, there were 3 finishes, which is almost unprecedented. That's like an absolute bumper crop.
I think what piqued our interest as well is that we've spoken to Damien a good few times on here and in life in general, and we've talked about the Barkleys before, and he's always been keen. So it was great to see him out there, and that really kind of, I think, piqued our interest. Obviously, Jasmine we've spoken to too, and that was it was nice to sort of cheer on people that you know. So,
some British interest, isn't there? Yeah, so Damien Hall, 5th loop, and then I think he got lost or something, or fell asleep, and then Jasmine Paris loop 4. So it's kind of you know what? I really think if Damien goes back, I really think he can do it, and I think Jasmine Paris can do it as well, and that would be. I'd be even more excited by the race if there was some more British finishes. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be amazing for sure.
Right, so look, should we get on? We'll get out our guest of the week and talk some more about the Barkley Marathons.
Guest of the week, here in the studio. Guest of the week, sometimes on the phone. Could be an athlete, could be a physio, or a complete unknown.
Okay, so our guest this week is author and ultra runner Michiel Panhuysen. Michiel has competed in multiple Barkley Marathons and has a book, In the Spell of the Barkley, which is available to order now. So, Michiel, welcome to the podcast, and also tell us how you first got involved in this crazy race.
Yeah, it's a very funny story at all. There is no website or any other trustworthy information, let's say, online about this race, and I just knew about this race for the first time when someone, a Belgian runner, who was participating in a previous year, explained about this race on his personal weblog. It was at the time, it was about 2010, when I remember well, and he was describing a very weird event in which you had to write a letter, like applying for a job to participate at first. And when you are allowed to participate at this race, the start was given by lighting a cigarette instead of shooting a pistol, or There was some very weird, particular, extraordinary, strange for me things happening at that race. And in the description about the race that I read from this runner, he said there was in 2009 there was one finisher, and so one finisher, and it was like the 10th or the 11th finisher at that time in the history of the race, and these kind of elements were so strange for me and really put my attention on this race. So for me, at that moment, running was just something like participate, maybe something like a marathon or a half marathon or 10 kilometers race, or I don't know, some sprint races and Olympic Games. And I never heard about something so strange like this, and this drew my attention, and this is why I was diving into it. Yeah.
How did you get then from reading this talking to your friend about this strange race to the start line? Because that's that's often, I think that lots of people who've been watching or following it this weekend will have the same thoughts. Will just be like, well, that's something I'd like to do. How did you get there? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, this was a kind of a story. Like I said, in 2010, I got in contact for the first time with the concept of the race. So I knew there was something called Barkley, or that a runner said to me that there was something called Barkley, but I couldn't find any proof if, for example, if he had been there really. Like maybe this is just a fake race and this doesn't exist at all. So already in 2010, if it's not on the internet, it's not there, like this was in my mind. So I started to do some research and couldn't find anything about the race until I found one website from someone who did it before. He's called Matt Mahoney. It's a dentist from Florida, when I remember well. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure what he's doing, and he's giving a description of almost all of the races, all of the editions in history. From the start in 1986, and there's a lot of race reports that you can find on this website. And he was also talking about one particular book. It's a book from Ed Furto, Frozen Ed Furto. It's called Tales from Out There, and I could order the book. I managed to get the book because I was really interested, in finding any small part of information about this race. And in the book, I found an email address of Frozen from the author. And I got in contact in this way, and then he was very excited about about me looking for him and looking for information. And then I made a telephone call because he gave me a telephone number. So I called him in Colorado at that time. The call was so full of enthusiasm, and it was so lively. I was so close to the Barkley at that time that there was this very strange feeling, almost love, let's say, for this race. And he just said, Frozen had said to me, the race is in 3 weeks. He called me Meg. Why don't you just come over and visit the race? And so I said, no, it's a lot of money, and I have to organize this my life, and it was only, not for participating at the race, but to visit the race. And so that night I was in my bed, and of course I couldn't sleep. And in the end, one day later, I had a coffee at my breakfast, and my wife said, Mick, I think you have to go. So I bought a ticket, and 1 hour later I could send Ed an email that I will see you in 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
During this race weekend, all the people over there asked me, who is this guy from the Netherlands, from Europe? What is he doing here? He's not even participating. He's not even an ultra runner. I'd never run an ultra in my life at that time. And it captured me so much that okay, it started. And so slowly I got, it's like a virus. I got trapped and I was into it. And of course then some months later, or when it's time for doing all the procedures, I could manage pretty easy. They just told me the entry procedures because I was one of them, let's say. So it looked like something normal to happen, that I went to the Barkley. So it was not that, I always said, it's not that I choose the Barkley, but the Barkley chose me.
I love that. And that first year then, so you're there, right? And you're not a particularly experienced ultra runner at that point.
No.
How on earth does it go? What's that first year like? What do you learn about the Barkley? And how do you feel when you presumably don't finish like everyone else?
Yeah, no, what normally happens if you are a virgin, let's say, they call it a virgin. If you are participating for the first time, you're called a virgin. And the ones who participated like the second or third or more times, they are called veterans. This is a typical Barkley thing, like this virgins and veterans. And most of the virgins, at least at the time that I was participating as a virgin, they are just looking for a veteran around them and at the start, and they try to follow him. This is what it has some risk in it, because if you follow this veteran who more or less knows how to go and where to go, this is not always like the case, because some veterans also got lost in the forest. But if you are running for, let's say, 3 or 4 hours in the forest, and you didn't look at your map because you're following this guy ahead or this woman ahead of you, then if you go, for example, for a pee, or you stop, or you lose the group, or you lose the veteran, then you are stuck in the forest and you don't have a clue where you are. Even if you have a map, you have no clue where you are. You're somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And these are things that happen in every Barkley edition. And okay, this is what didn't happen to me, but I followed Ed Frozenhead. It was the guy with whom I had all this contact, and who, let's say, made it possible for me also to go there. And I tried to follow him. And the first loop, this was okay. I mean, I could follow him, but I was a bit quicker than Ed in the interloopal period, which is called the period in between the two loops, before you start your second loop. And he just said, go on your own. But then it was at night, and so I was there on my own in the second loop in nighttime, and I was so scared. I mean, it's like the image that it's created around it, like it's just a forest and nothing happens. But okay, you mean if you have no GPS at these times and you're in a dark forest, and there is this myth around, like this race that everyone is getting lost, then you really feel scared. And, like every owl you hear, every bird, that it's like something very strange to happen for you. Yeah.
So it was sort of, did you manage to do 2 loops the first time, or was that the end?
No, I in the end, at got me in between the first and second book, I think. So after some time, and I stayed with him again the second loop, and this part of the second loop, and I never run for more than 50 or 60 kilometers, I think, before I started there. It was just I started because I really wanted to experiment this, but I didn't have a clue about what it is to run ultras. And so after 24 hours, I started really getting very tired, very, very tired. And I just didn't know how to handle this. And I said, okay, now I cannot go on anymore. And relatively at a easy point, I said, I just quit. It's been enough. So, and this is because I didn't have any experience what it really means to go so far, so deep, because I didn't have done any really ultra race before. Because only after this, I learned a little bit what it means to do this ultra running, and like to go to this limit. This is an interesting point. Like after 24 hours, 30 hours, you get to this point where everything hurts, and you're very hungry, and your stomach is upset, and like you turn inside out, and you're in a very bad shape, or in a very bad situation, in a very bad place, like Jared Campbell said sometimes. And that's the point where you have to try to find a way to go on. And this is a struggle. This is a mental struggle, mainly a mental struggle. It's not physical. Okay, it hurts, but this is normal after 24 hours of running. Like it hurts. Everything hurts, and nothing new. But if you want to finish, I mean, the race takes 50 hours at least. I think course record is 52 hours. So you need more than 2 days, like to go on, and it's not finished after 1 day. There are more races that I was going on for 4 or 5 days, and it hurt. Everything hurts after 1 day or 1 night, and it hurts even more after 2 nights, and it hurts even more after 3 nights. But if you have to go on still 2 nights and 2 days, well, you only get to the finish if you go on. And this is the process that you have to learn. And I was in the beginning of this stage, let's say, in my first Barkley.
Yeah. I think it's amazing that was like your entry into the ultra world. That like,
I agree.
Most
it's incredible,
people who get into ultras is they've done maybe they've done 4 or 5 marathons. And then they choose like the 50k race is the next first step in, because it's just that little bit further than the marathon, and they keep it local to where they live. They don't want to travel too far, and you went straight in with the hardest.
Yeah, but it was more like it was this story, like it's not, for me it was not I was not going to do an ultra run. I was going to do the Barkley. And in the Barkley ultra run, but if people know how to finish a marathon and they have this experience, and they are just looking for some more challenge, or they are bored, I don't know why people go from the marathon to an ultra marathon. I really don't know. But for me, it was I didn't give. For me, it was not so important that it was an ultra. It was it was this strange mystery with that was the legend. Yes, I was, even if it would have been like just no marathon, I would have gone for it. I think, like it was this I mean that it was ultra. Okay well, good, but this was not the thing what I was doing. But it brought me finally into this ultra, because I learned that what ultra started to mean for me after the races I run after 2012. It was 3 or 4 more Barkleys. I in the end I made 5 Barkleys and never finished. But all the races, what happened there is that I came into this let's say area, part in your mind, part in your brain, which is called ultra, and ultra is, for me, became the area inside yourself which is beyond comfort, beyond this is nice, or it is all like suffering, or testing yourself, or pushing yourself, and I found this a very interesting terrain, let's say, in myself to discover and to find out who I am. I mean, this is also kind of the why you do such things, and so let's say I describe it mostly that the Barkley brought me into this ultra territory. And because I wanted to train myself to become a better Barkley runner, I started to do ultras.
That's really interesting, because I think that's the promise of a race like this. That is, I think there's a T-shirt that's something like meaningless suffering without a point. Actually, I think what you say, and what I hope is true of something like Barkley, is that you take this on and you become a different person as a result. It teaches you something about yourself, hopefully a more resourceful person. How did it change you? To have this ultra mindset, how is that in any way useful in kind of non-Barkley life?
I can give some examples. For example, if I have to take some train or a bus, and I know that I'm pretty late. This is mostly in my unorganized life, that I always have to run to take the train. And when I'm with someone else, normally the people around me say, "No, mate, we're not gonna make it because we're so close. We're gonna miss the train, or we're gonna miss the metro, or whatever. We're gonna miss it." And I say, no. Still, if we have a chance, to get there, we will run until the last moment. So half of the time I see, the back part of the train going, and I'm lost, and I lost the race. And but half of the time I just catch it in time, in the last second. And this is one of the things, you learn if you do this kind of, if you are in this training, go on, just go on. If you can, just go on. Don't let someone else say that it's not possible. Just see it with your own eyes. And if it's proven not to be possible, okay, then it's not possible. But you tried everything you could. So this try everything you can is one of the things you can learn, let's say, from this ultra. And the other is, for example, the training part is not physical, but it's mental. And the mental training part is, if you say it in an easy way, is just doing in your ordinary life. So not with your running gear on, but just with normal clothes, going to your work, going to see friends, going to see your family, doing your life, living your life. Is that if you meet some things, if there are happening some things around you that you don't like, just see it as a training. If you have to talk to a colleague which is not your favorite person, just try to be good with him or her, or just try to communicate with him or her, and not already before you have contact say, no, I don't like it, because I really don't like this person. So in this way, this is also like training, something deep inside tells you, no, not contact with this person. And you force yourself to be, to have a nice conversation with this person. So this is another thing, which is good training on one part. And if you do this from time to time, it also makes you a nice person around you. The other thing is, if you don't like, this is a very classical example, if you don't like to do the dishes and you don't have such a machine who does the dishes for you, you just go there and you see all this dirty stuff from the night before, and you're just gonna clean it, and you say, I don't like it, I don't want this, I don't want to do it, and you just do it, and you do it because you don't want to do it. So if you see it as a training to clean all this rubbish, to clean all this shit from others around you, if you see this as a training, it's good for you, because you train your mind, and on the other way, it affects you, because you become a different person for the people around you.
This is the Runner's World podcast.
I mean, it touches upon your book. There's a chapter of the 6 lessons learned from the finishers. And I think you've touched on one of them. Become a human machine, I think, with the dishes is a good one.
Yes.
And you sort of talk about dare to jump into the deep and become fear is part and parcel of it. And you've got to stay humble. I think staying humble is quite an interesting one, because I guess the ego that perhaps people assume comes with that race is probably what would stop a lot of people from finishing.
Yeah, I think this is if you look at the persons who in history who finished the race, especially my favorite one is Jared Campbell, from the American guy from Utah. And he's an extremely good athlete. But if you go and run, for example, together with him, I'm just like a normal guy. I'm not one of the elite runners. But Jared, if he meets me, or if I meet Jared, he will ask me for how are you doing? How are you running? How is stuff going? So he's putting himself on the same position, on the same level as I am, and he's not behaving like a superhero. He is a superhero, but he's not behaving like this, and this makes him very accessible, I think. This is for outsiders, but it's also it makes this is the type of persons or personalities that have a good chance in this race, in this particular race. Like you said, that some people are blocked by their own egos, like it's the Barkley is so strong, it will break any ego. So only if you have no ego to break, maybe
you got a chance.
you got a chance.
I like that. Can we talk about like female finishers as well? Because obviously someone who fits that description, very humble, good runner, would be Jasmine Paris, who I think started a 4th loop this year. I think only second woman to do that. What do you think of her chances of running loop 5? What do you think of her as a runner? And I guess more broadly, like women getting closer to finishing, the toughest ultramarathon in the world.
I'm sure for myself. Okay, I cannot be sure, but I think Jasmine makes a very, very good chance to. Maybe some other woman will be before her, but she has some years, to go there, to go back to the race. And she has a real good chance to finish this race. She has the right attitude. She's also very humble. She's a very normal, very accessible person. She is not, telling big stories, even, about nothing. But on the other hand, she knows how to perform in such a very strong race. I mean, in the what she did before in the spine, of course, it's amazing. The way in which she did this. This is like perfect, but also she's behaving very well in the Barkley, because she made 2 consecutive years, this year and the previous year in 2022. She made a fun run. I mean, a fun run is insane. It's very, very well done. I mean, this is very few people manage to run a fun run, to finish a fun run. So the fun run is 3 of the 5 loops. And this year she even was in time for the within the 36 hours time limit, so she could go on for the 4th loop. In the history of this race, there are only very few finishers that manage to finish in their 1st or 2nd Barkley. So normally you do some fun runs before, and then the 3rd or 4th or 5th time that you participate, you manage to organize yourself so well, and you need a bit of luck, and exactly about what's going on, and during this race, and then your chances will get better and better to finish the race. And it's also kind of respect, let's say, for such a cruel and difficult race, that you give the race some chance to win from you, to beat you. Yeah. And the French guy who won this time, Sanchez, he didn't know probably that it was not done to finish at your first time. He was a virgin, and he finished, and he won even. So, yeah, I mean, this is beyond, this is beyond limitations. This is not possible.
For you, Michael, what Is there any particular aspect of the Barkley that makes it so difficult? Like, for instance, is it the sheer amount of climbing? Is it the navigation? Is it the legend? Is there something that sets it apart and makes it harder than other races?
It seems like it's 100-miler and the time limit is 60 hours. So it looks like, okay, this is it's a very this is doable. Let's say you should think from a distance, but if you look very well with the elevation per loop, then it's an extreme lot of elevation in very difficult terrain, and so the time limit of 12 hours for a 20-mile loop, it's pretty short. Let's say for one loop it's okay, but for the second loop already many runners get in problem. Like and to do 3 loops you should do it within 30 hours and not within the allowed 36 hours. Like 3 times 12 hours. It's allowed, but if you need this time cushion for the last 2 loops of 6 hours, it's 4, 5, 6 hours. You need this extra time cushioning, because you will not be able to do it in the last few, to run these last few loops in due time. Yeah, I mean, to say short, it's not a lot of time.
Yeah. I think
so. It's a short
time. Because I think that probably people think like it's the terrain, because you see images of people being like shredded by the bushes, getting cuts and like crawling through that, or it's the sort of inhospitable surroundings and things like that. But
don't underestimate this elevation thing. It's not it's not running. It's like going as fast as possible. But I mean, you cannot. The climbs are so steep. You
scrambling.
Do it. Yeah.
Hands and knees crawling.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. It's great to talk to someone who's actually done it. I think it's just to get an insight. Yeah. Do you have to be a brilliant runner to finish this race? Are all the finishers absolutely exceptional runners, or do we have people in there who just brought something? Barkley just brought out something special in them. Maybe they haven't actually performed brilliantly in other races, but they had their greatest day at the Barkley. Is it possible for someone to just transcend kind of what they're otherwise capable of?
It's when I went the first time to Tennessee to like as a visitor to visit a race, I saw Brett Money. I think it's his pronunciation of his name, Brett. Winning his first Barkley, and 1 year later he finished for a second time. He has actually the record of the course, so he ran the fastest Barkley in history. And he is not a runner; he's more like a speed hiker. Okay. And so this is a thing that he's a very strong hiker, let's say, and this is typically a place where very strong hikers out hike strong runners.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So this sounds strange, but it's a mix of runners and very strong hikers, and I think also Sanchez, he's a runner and a hiker. He's very strong in both of it, and this is what you need. So you need more than only running. And I think very many very good, very strong runners are not strong enough in hiking. And maybe for a runner it sounds a bit strange, but well, I think the fastest time on the 50-kilometer speed, like hiking, is 3 hours and 30 minutes. I don't know. I'm not sure, but it's under 4 hours. So this is faster than the fastest marathon I ever ran. So
yeah, true.
Yeah. So
exactly that.
Yeah, I mean,
it can be done. It can be done.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's interesting.
I think that the sort of the part of the legend of the whole event is probably Lazarus Lake, and and sort of obviously you mentioned the lighting of the cigarette and the sort of the sort of weird things that sort of he brings, that he's sort of set up as part of the race. What's it like? You know, I think people get an insight to the race via Keith Dunn on Twitter, and that's basically it. And Laz has probably done a few interviews here and there. What's he like on race day? What's he like when you're at the event? Is he a cool, collected guy, or is he sort of, you know, what's the sort of, how does he steer that ship?
Well, Laz is like you say, there's no Barkley without Laz. Let's say his character is very, very, very important aspect of this race. When he's in the race, he has two sides. One is this side that everyone is seeing or willing to see, which is this strange guy, which has all these habits, smoking a lot of cigarettes all the time, smoking at the start. This smoking culture around this, it's very strange in this running community. And I think it's a little bit also why he is doing it, just to be against the normal procedures. And a lot of what he's doing is also psychological warfare. He's not telling you or the runners when they will start until 60 minutes, 1 hour before the race. He's announcing it. So it's very difficult. Most of the runners will not have a good sleep in the night before. His command is very strange, sarcastic sometimes. People who are liking this, other people, they prefer to be more pampered or having some positive words from the race director. But Laz is Laz. He's very typical, and he's also, but. And most people agree on this, that he's playing like this part of it. Part of it is real, and part of it he's playing it. And on the other hand, it's like playing his character. He's also, because for him it's also an ultra. It's not a young man. He's about 70 years old. So, and I think the last week he was staying awake during the first 2 days and nights of the race. So for imagine that he's also it's his child, it's his baby, let's say, this race. So he's a very good father of the race, and he's very concerned about everything which happened. And also he has this emotional part, but you have to dig very deep and to be there and be very attentive if you want to see it. He doesn't show it, but sometimes he has to show it, and then you see also that he's a very emotional man, and yeah, he has these two sides. But okay, he's a very good. He plays his role very strong. So yeah, you have to be very close and for a long time with him, and then you see that he's just a normal man, like every one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Michael, thanks so much for coming on the podcast and shining a light onto this very fascinating, obscure corner of the running world. And your book, In the Spell of the Barkleys, available for people to pre-order now if they want to get the full scoop on what it's like to be enthralled to the Barkleys. So thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of this week's Runners World podcast. A huge thanks to our guest, Michiel Panhuysen, and to you, of course, for listening.
Head over to runnersworld.com/UK/podcast offer to get an exclusive podcast listener offer. I mean, that's incredible. I know, right? You can get 3 issues for just £5. So go there, runnersworld.com/UK/podcast offer.